Good evening and welcome to AETB News, where we cut through the political noise to bring you the stories that truly impact your life, your wallet, and our nation's future. I'm your host, and tonight we're diving deep into a trade war that's brewing right on our northern border, a conflict simmering with our closest ally, Canada. You might have heard whispers of tariffs and trade disputes, but what you probably haven't heard is the full story, the sheer absurdity of how we got here, and why you, the American citizen, are the one footing the bill. The White House has slapped a staggering 35% tariff on a range of Canadian goods, adding to existing duties on steel, aluminum, and autos. The official justification? It's a dizzying cocktail of reasons, from retaliation for Canadian counter-tariffs to a supposed crackdown on fentanyl, and even, bizarrely, a reaction to Canada's stance on Palestinian statehood. If you're struggling to connect those dots, you're not alone. It's a smokescreen. Tonight, we're going to blow that smoke away. We'll analyze the official statements, expose the contradictions, and lay bare the real-world consequences of this erratic trade policy. Is this a masterstroke of negotiation, a big, beautiful bill in the making, as the administration claims? Or is it a reckless gamble that threatens to unravel one of the most successful economic partnerships in modern history, hurting American businesses and families in the process? Stick with us, because what's happening with Canada is a microcosm of a much larger, more troubling approach to global politics, and you deserve the truth. Let's start by dissecting the core argument presented by the U.S. official in the clip we analyzed. The claim is that these new 35% tariffs were triggered because Canada had the audacity to retaliate against initial U.S. tariffs. The official stated, the only other country in the world who retaliated on tariffs was the Chinese. And so, if the president's going to take an action and the Canadians retaliate, the United States needs to maintain the integrity of our action. Let's pause and really think about that statement. This isn't a schoolyard argument where one kid pushes, the other pushes back, and the first kid has to push even harder to win. This is international diplomacy and economics, where actions have profound and far-reaching consequences. The logic here is fundamentally flawed and, frankly, insulting to the intelligence of the American people. Trade retaliation is not some rare, shocking event. It is a standard, predictable response in international trade disputes sanctioned by the very rules of the World Trade Organization that the United States helped create. To equate Canada, our ally, our neighbor, a nation with whom we share the world's longest undefended border, with China is not just a false equivalency. It's a deliberate and misleading rhetorical tactic designed to justify aggression. Canada is not the enemy. They are our number one customer. They buy more American-made goods than China, Japan, and the UK combined. The relationship, as the Canadian minister aptly put it, is unique. We don't sell things to each other as much as we build things together. Our economies are deeply intertwined. A part for a Ford F-150 might cross the border half a dozen times before the final truck rolls off the assembly line in Michigan or Missouri. So when we put a 50% tariff on Canadian aluminum, who really pays the price? As American automakers like GM, Ford, and Stellantis have explicitly stated, they do. Their profits take a hit, which leads to higher car prices for you, the consumer, and potentially threatens the jobs of American auto workers. It's a self-inflicted wound, plain and simple. The administration wants us to believe this is about protecting national security. That's the official cover for the steel and aluminum tariffs under Section 232. The Canadian minister rightly points out the irony. Canada also has a national security interest in maintaining its own steel and aluminum sectors. But more importantly, he highlights that Canada has some of the toughest rules in the world against Chinese dumping, the very practice the U.S. tariffs are supposedly meant to combat. They have melt and pour tracing to ensure Chinese steel isn't laundered through their market. So instead of crippling our closest partner, a partner who is already helping us fight the real problem, why not work with them? Why not create a North American fortress against unfair trade practices from overseas? That would be a logical, strategic approach. This is not. This brings us to the ever-shifting justifications. When the logic of retaliation seems thin, the administration pivots. Suddenly, this is about fentanyl. The official in the clip tries to compartmentalize, saying, "I'm the trade guy, I'm not the drug czar." But he can't escape the fact that the president himself has explicitly linked the two. Let's be crystal clear. The fentanyl crisis is a devastating tragedy that requires a serious, multifaceted response. It involves law enforcement, public health initiatives, and international cooperation to stop the flow of illicit narcotics. But using it as a pretext for trade tariffs on everything from lumber to auto parts is a cynical exploitation of a national tragedy. It does nothing to stop the drug trade and everything to poison our economic relationship with a key partner in the fight against it. And just when you think the reasoning can't get any more convoluted, it does. The president, via social media, declared that Canada's decision to back statehood for Palestine will make it hard for us to make a trade deal. This is perhaps the most alarming justification of all. Tying critical trade policy, which affects millions of American jobs, to a completely unrelated foreign policy issue is a dangerous departure from decades of diplomatic precedent. It signals to the world that the United States is no longer a reliable partner, that any agreement can be held hostage by the whims of the moment. The official's defense of this is a weak appeal to the president's constitutional powers, suggesting that since the executive branch can sever all trade for geopolitical reasons, it can certainly impose a smaller tariff. This might makes right argument completely ignores the question of whether it should. It's a justification for arbitrary power, not for sound, predictable, and beneficial policy. The Canadian minister in the clip appears diplomatic, patient, and frankly, beleaguered. He speaks of a business-like, respectful relationship, of constructive, cordial conversations. He's trying to find a way forward, to appeal to logic and shared interests. He points out that his government passed the One Canadian Economy Act, their version of a major infrastructure and investment bill, which he says will unlock $500 billion in opportunities, many of which would benefit American businesses. This is a partner extending a hand, looking for common ground, and we are slapping that hand away. The tragedy is that this entire conflict feels unnecessary. The stated goal of the president is to fix the terms of trade and bring manufacturing back to the U.S. These are noble goals that many Americans on both sides of the aisle can agree with. But the method is flawed. You don't strengthen your own house by setting fire to your neighbors, especially when your houses are connected. The net result of this system, as the U.S. official admits, has been a loss of manufacturing. But the cause is complex. Automation, global wage differences, and the actions of state-subsidized economies like China are the primary drivers. Punishing Canada is like blaming the local fire department for a distant volcano eruption. It misidentifies the problem and applies a solution that only causes more damage. So what is the real strategy here? Is there one? Or are we witnessing a chaotic, seat-of-your-pants approach to trade where tariffs are a multi-purpose tool used to punish, pressure, and project an image of strength regardless of the economic fallout? It seems to be the latter, and the cost is mounting. American companies that rely on Canadian materials are seeing their profits shrink. American consumers are facing higher prices on everything from cars to construction materials. And our international reputation as a stable, predictable partner is eroding. We are at a crossroads. We can continue down this path of antagonism, treating our closest allies like adversaries and waging trade wars that ultimately harm our own citizens, or we can choose a different path. A path of strategic cooperation, of building alliances to confront shared challenges, and of recognizing that America's strength is magnified, not diminished, when we work with our friends. The deal Canada is offering, a partnership to secure North American manufacturing and supply chains against unfair global competition, is the right one. It's the one that serves American interests. The question is whether our leaders have the wisdom to see it. This isn't just about Canada. It's about the kind of country we want to be, the kind of world we want to live in. And it's a question that deserves a real, honest debate, free from the smokescreens and the political theater. Thank you for joining us on AETB News. We believe in asking the tough questions and holding power to account.
If you believe in that too, if you want to stay informed and get the real story behind the headlines, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Click that bell icon so you never miss an update. The truth matters, and with your support, we'll keep fighting to bring it to you. Good night.